Gather round, folks. Imagine we're huddled by a crackling fire in a dimly lit tavern, the kind where revolutionaries once whispered plots against kings. But tonight, our story isn't about tea parties or midnight rides. It's about something far more insidious, something that sneaks into your pocket every April like a thief in the night. The U.S. income tax. Oh, sure, you think you know it. The forms, the deductions, the dread. But buckle up, bucko, because this isn't your dry history lesson. This is a saga of desperate wars, cunning politicians, forgotten rebellions, and jaw-dropping secrets that'll make you see your W-2 in a whole new light. We'll clock in at about 10 minutes of reading time, so grab a coffee, tax deductible if you're self-employed, and let's dive into the drama. Our tale begins not in the gleaming halls of Congress, but in the blood-soaked fields of the American Revolution. Picture this. It's 1776, and the colonists are fed up with King George's taxation without representation. They're dumping tea into harbors, firing muskets at redcoats, and dreaming of a tax-free utopia. Fast forward to 1787, and the Founding Fathers ink the Constitution. Guess what? It explicitly bans direct taxes on individuals unless they're apportioned by population. Why? Because they remembered the Stamp Act riots and the fury of being taxed on everything from newspapers to playing cards. Income taxes, not even on the radar. The young U.S. funded itself with tariffs on imports and excise taxes on booze, leading to the infamous Whiskey Rebellion of 1791, where Pennsylvania farmers tarred and feathered tax collectors over a liquor levy. George Washington himself led troops to crush it, proving early on that Uncle Sam doesn't mess around with his cut. But wars cost money, and nothing accelerates fiscal innovation like cannon fire. Enter the War of 1812, that scrappy rematch with Britain where we burned each other's capitals and sang about rockets' red glare. The U.S. was broke, tariffs tanked due to blockades, so Congress flirted with the idea of an income tax. They chickened out, opting for loans and lotteries instead. It wasn't until the Civil War exploded in 1861 that the tax genie truly escaped the bottle. Abraham Lincoln, that lanky lawyer from Illinois, stared down a fractured nation. The South had seceded, armies were mobilizing, and the Union needed cash, fast. Gold from California mines? Not enough. Bonds? Risky. So in July 1861, Congress passed the Revenue Act, slapping a 3% tax on incomes over $800, about $28,000 today. It was America's first federal income tax, but here's the twist. It was voluntary at first. People were supposed to self-assess and pay up out of patriotic duty. Yeah, that didn't last. By 1862, they created the Bureau of Internal Revenue, hello, IRS precursor, with actual enforcers. Rates jumped to 5 to 10%. And they even taxed dividends and salaries. The North raked in millions, funding everything from ironclads to Gettysburg ammo. But wait, plot twist. This tax was meant to be temporary, a wartime band-aid. And true to form, after Appomattox in 1865, rates dwindled until the tax expired in 1872. Poof, gone. For 2 decades, America reveled in tax-free bliss, funding the Gilded Age's railroads and robber barons with tariffs alone. Yet, whispers of inequality grew. Farmers and workers seethed as the rich got richer, untaxed. Enter the populists in the 1890s, a ragtag alliance of pitchfork-wielding agrarians demanding soak the rich policies. The tax died, but the seed was planted. Now, the real thriller unfolds in the progressive era, that whirlwind of muckrakers, trustbusters, and Teddy Roosevelt's big stick. By 1909, America was booming but unequal. Think J.P. Morgan's yachts versus tenement slums. Politicians like William Jennings Bryan, the Cross of Gold guy, rallied for a constitutional fix. Enter the 16th Amendment. Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes, from whatever source derived, without apportionment among the several states. Ratified in 1913 under President Taft, yes, the bathtub-stuck one. It was a masterstroke of political theater. Conservatives backed it thinking states would never ratify. Progressives pushed it as justice. Surprise, 42 states said yes, including unlikely ones like Alabama. Why? Many thought it had only hit the ultra-rich. The first modern income tax law that year, forms were simple. 1 page. Total filers? Just 1% of Americans. But oh, how the beast grew. World War I erupted in 1914, and by 1917 the US joined the fray. Rates skyrocketed. Top bracket hit 77% by 1918 to fund doughboys and Liberty bonds. Post-war, it dipped, but never vanished. The Roaring Twenties saw Secretary Andrew Mellon, a banker naturally, slash rates to stimulate growth, but the Great Depression flipped the script. FDR's New Deal cranked the dial. Top rates soared to 79% by 1936, then 91% during W4. Imagine earning $1 million in 1944. You'd owe $940,000. Yet loopholes abounded for the savvy. And here's a juicy fact most don't know. During W4, the IRS partnered with Disney to make propaganda cartoons. Donald Duck himself starred in The New Spirit, 1942, urging Americans to pay taxes to beat the Axis. It worked. Filing jumped from 7 million to 42 million, thanks to withholding, deducted from paychecks, a temporary war measure that's still here. Speaking of secrets, let's spill some lesser-known gems that'll make your tax prep feel like a spy novel. The tax on beards. Before income taxes, the US dabbled in wild levies. In 1794, they taxed carriages, a luxury tax that sparked Fries' rebellion. But globally, Peter the Great taxed Russian beards in 1698. America never went that far, but early excises on snuff and powdered wigs hit the elite. Al Capone's downfall. The untouchable gangster evaded murder raps but got nailed for tax evasion in 1931. His lavish lifestyle screamed undeclared income from bootlegging. Sentence? 11 years. Moral: even mobsters fear the IRS more than rivals. The 16th Amendment conspiracy theories. Some fringe folks claim it was never properly ratified, missing commas in state documents or something. Courts have dismissed this hundreds of times, but it's fueled tax protester movements, like the 1980s Posse Comitatus, who armed themselves against collectors. Women and taxes. Pre-1913, married women's income was often taxed under husbands. The 16th helped women's rights by recognizing separate filings, tying into suffrage vibes. Fun fact, in 1948, joint filing was introduced to fix the marriage penalty, but it created the singles penalty instead. Space taxes? Astronauts pay income tax on salaries even in orbit, but moon rocks? Tax-free souvenirs. And get this, in 1969, the IRS audited Neil Armstrong's returns. Just routine, but imagine explaining lunar expenses. The shortest tax form ever. The original 1913 Form 1040 was 4 pages. Today, it's bloated, but in 1945 they tried a postcard version for simple filers, buried by bureaucracy. Hidden presidential perks. Presidents pay taxes on salaries, $400,000 today. But the White House is tax-free housing. Nixon tried deducting his vice presidential papers as a charitable donation. Got caught, owed back taxes. The IRS's art collection. Seized from tax dodgers, it includes paintings worth millions. They don't sell them. Instead, they loan to museums. Your delinquent neighbor's Picasso might be hanging in the Smithsonian. Tax day's dark origin. April 15th wasn't always the deadline. It shifted from March 1 in 1913 to March 15th in 1918, then April in 1955 to give the IRS more time amid post-war filings. Coincidence? It avoids Easter and gives procrastinators spring fever. Future twists. With AI and crypto, the IRS is evolving, tracking Bitcoin since 2014. And did you know? In 2023, they hired 87,000 new agents, not all auditors despite myths, to chase billionaires, recovering $520 million from high earners alone. As our story winds down, reflect. Income taxes started as a whisper in wartime desperation, ballooned into a behemoth shaping society. From funding Social Security to space races, they've sparked revolts, toppled empires. Hello, French Revolution. And in America, embody that eternal tug of war between we the people and pay up, sucker. Next time you file, remember, You're part of this epic narrative. Who knows what chapter comes next? Universal basic income? Robot taxes? The plot thickens. There you have it, a 10-minute roller coaster through tax history laced with surprises. If that didn't make your pulse race a bit, well, maybe check your deductions for excitement. What's your wildest tax tale?